Hey guys, back for part 2 of the new faction Supreme Arbiters. So in this video we'll be talking about Eunomia and Thallen. So let's start with Eunomia. She is a healer. It says magic, all healers do. If we look at her base stats, she has 5.5k attack and 11.7k HP. If we compare this to Elowin, it is exactly the same HP, and it is a little bit less on the attack. Elowin has 5.7k attack. Elowin also has a higher magic resistance and defense and costs 16 instead of 18. I don't know why I'm choosing Elowin, it's just a good benchmark for a lot of people are familiar with her. And this time we have 15 range and 2.5 interval. So the attack interval is a bit faster. So, looking at her base kit, she actually has really high attack. Elowin might have higher, but Elowin is really stacked on stats, which is one of the reasons I benchmarked her. So we have pretty good attack on Eunomia. We have a pretty reasonable attack interval and reasonable stats all over, generally. The healing range is a reasonable healing range. It's not one of the better ones, really. It's nice for the long range, but I kind of, Vortex's range is obviously the best. Vortex Hollow's range, so it's an okay healing range. She is duo faction, Arbiter and Watcher. And as for what she actually does, her talent, each healing will bounce an extra 2 times, with each bounce restoring 35% of the original healing amount for an ally. So her main target is just a single target heal. This is a nuance that I think will be missed by a few people because it's not clear in any way, shape or form. But healers' multipliers on their attack, so how much they scale on attack and how much they scale on healing effect, depends on what kind of healer they are. Either they are a single target healer, a tri-target healer, or an area healer. Elowin is a tri-healer, she heals 3 people at a time, same as Medan. Vortex is a single target healer, and someone like Eileen or Dolores, they are area healers. The multiplier is quite a bit different. I believe Eunomia, because she's a single target healer, is going to be benefiting more from attack and healing effect by around 30% more than Elowin or Medan. So her single target heals are going to be huge. But they've got around this by making it so that her talent makes her heals bounce. It's 35% of this single target heal, which sounds really small. But this is 100% of her attack or healing effect is going into her heals, whereas tri-target healers, they're losing 30% of that stat, around about, I believe. So it's actually not as small as it sounds. It's actually still pretty good bounce heals. These are going to be really chunky heals. So her ultimate, Holy Light Euphony. 900 rage cap down to 700 at max skill. Duration is 20 seconds up to 30 seconds. So this is a bit of a weird one. When she ults, it's auto. She gains 100 attack speed. And she grants all allies in her range 100 attack speed as well for 20 to 30 seconds. However, the second time she ults, afterwards it becomes permanent. So yeah, she ults twice and then everyone gets 100 attack speed. And that's the end of it. There's not much to this skill, really. It's a bit boring. But it's 100 attack speed for her, it's 100 attack speed for her allies, and after the second time, it becomes permanent. Pretty easy to do that. She might be a hero you even consider bringing into a guild boss team, ulting twice, and then just removing her permanently because you don't need her anymore. I don't know, it could be something that happens. 100 attack speed is good, it's not insane. So you would think that the rest of her kit would scale with this Holy Light Euphony ultimate. It does not. Holy Illumination, her first auto passive, every 40 seconds down to 30 seconds, she dispels all debuffs from 3 allies in range. So yeah, on an interval between 40 and 30 seconds, she just wipes all debuffs off of up to 3 allies within her range. Her range is not the most ideal for this, but it's pretty good still. It's nice long-reaching range. And dispelling all debuffs for current content is not a big deal. You also can't control when it happens, so it's not that good for Void Rift in my opinion. You want to really control when that happens, unless that interval in Void Rift lines up really tidily with this, which I doubt. But I think this is a sign that future content we're going to need to dispel debuffs more often. So that's cool, right? It gives us an inclination that we might need to have more rounded teams. We might need to use Elowin or Medan more for their dispels. So I think this is a sign for future content more than anything else. And next we have a second passive, Seraphic Echo. During the effect of Holy Light Euphony, the healing multiplier of the bounced healing plus 40%, and that goes up another 20% to 60%. So while she's ultimating, it's another 60% healing multiplier. However, this becomes permanent after the second ult, so I believe this just becomes a permanent 60% increase on her bounced heals. So I'm not sure, does this go from 35 to 95%? Is that kind of what we're looking at? Because if that's the case, then she's going to be the best healer in the game for just outright blat healing. She should just be chucking bricks of heals at people. It seems to be all she does. You just build high attack speed, high attack, because she's attack scaling, and you build high healing effect. She dispels people and just chucks massive heals out. So my first thought is she's going to be insane in Immortal Codex. There's the Immortal Codex where you need to keep people alive. It's kind of like a Gear Raid 2 style Immortal Codex stage. She's going to be chucking ridiculously chunky heals out. They're going to be splashing to multiple targets. I think it's going to be very good. I think it's actually, in terms of just raw healing output, I think that's very good. 3 targets taking massive healing, all the attack speed to help her and allies heal faster. I think she's an Immortal Codex hero. I don't know where else I would use her. I guess you could use her in Gear Raid 2, but she's not the tankiest hero herself, so she's a bit liable on that. She has no get out of jail free cards at all. So very finally, she gets 5 cost reduction in Arena. So she goes down from 18 all the way down to 13 cost, which is pretty good. But do you need someone who just heals in Arena? I guess it's attack speed, so that's cool. But she just heals, so I don't know. With current Arena, she's not great. Future Arena, she could be very good, because they have mentioned they're doing some reworks on that. So from her kit, Immortal Codex is a very obvious winner for her. Outside of that, not too sure. But let's have a look at her Awakenings. First Awakening, when her ult is active, which becomes permanent, remember, her heals bounce 1 more time, so now she becomes a 4-target healer. So she becomes just better than the 3-target healers. She'll heal 4 people and for what should be significantly more. Awakening 2 is a healing effect, which is, I guess, sure, that's good. Third Awakening is bounced healing, has a 10% chance to dispel all debuffs from allies. I'm assuming this means the target of the bounced heal has a 10% chance to have all of their debuffs dispelled. It doesn't dispel from all allies. That's how it reads to me. But that's pretty good as well. She just becomes a master dispeller. All heals are going to bounce 3 times at this point, remember, because you've got the A1. So it's a really, really good chance of dispelling just rapidly. Fourth Awakening is Rage Regen Auto, which feels really silly to me because she only needs to cast her ult twice and then this is completely useless. So not really what I was looking for. And her A5 is after casting Holy Light Illumination, which is the Dispel debuff, which goes down to 30-second cooldown. It increases her healing multiplier by 50% for 10 seconds. So massive, massive heals at A5. And bear in mind, it's a 30-second interval. I think she just casts it every 30 seconds. So this A5 has a 33% uptime, a third uptime, right? 10 seconds every 30 seconds. So yeah, overall, Eunomia seems pretty cool. I know her name is Eunomia, by the way, but I just think Pneumonia is funny. So I'm going to call her Pneumonia. But anyway, I think she's pretty good. I think she's just a block healer, though. I don't think she does much more than just chuck heals out and dispel people. I mean, she literally doesn't really. She applies some attack speed, but that's it. So a very light kit. However, I think she's going to be very good when you need that kind of level of healing. The only drawback is she's attack scaling, not HP scaling. But if she was HP scaling on top of this much healing output, she would be kind of ridiculous. So it's a whole load of healing output she's going to be applying. I think she's going to be amazing for Immortal Codex. Beyond that, for current content, I'm not too sure. She's probably going to be really good at just allowing people to tank stuff they shouldn't be able to tank. It's going to be really easy to get high attack speed on her. It's going to be really easy to get high healing on her. So she'll be absolutely ridiculous for keeping people alive. Anyway, that's it for Eunomia. So let's move on to the final hero that's being added, which is Thallen. He is a Duo faction arbiter and esotericist. He is a fighter that also deals magic damage. So you may have noticed that every single person in this faction deals magic damage, even Valkyra. Actually, Constance, when she twats people with her mace, that's only normal damage. So she's the one exception at the moment. Anyway, let's take a look at Thallen's base stats. So he has a 2-tile attack range, it's pretty nice. He has very low attack for a fighter. He has decent HP, decent defense. A reasonable attack interval is slightly higher than the usual 2.6 for a fighter. And rage regen of 12 is okay, but a little bit low. So he's got kind of low attack and his cost is a little bit high. 20 is quite high. So what does he do? First, talent. Each basic attack has a chance equivalent to 50% of his current rage percent to turn into a luminous strike, which deals 240% damage to up to 5 enemies. So if he sits at 100% rage cap, he has a 50% chance on basic attack to deal 240% AoE damage, 5 targets, magic damage. I think it's pretty good. I think the problem is you're not really going to be sitting at 100% rage. His ult is very good. So you're going to be using his ultimate a lot, pretty much off cooldown, I would assume. So it's not bad. It's pretty good, and that's nice. That's a high multiplier as well. Just to randomly do 240% damage in AoE is pretty good. So his basic attack, again, magic damage, 50% damage to up to 5 enemies 2 times. Damage per strike increases to 60% damage twice, so it rounds up to 120% damage, which is the same. And it hits up to 5 enemies. So it's an AoE attack, hits twice, sure, seems pretty good. Hits twice, which means he should be good in Immortal Codex as well, on top of the other heroes who are good in Immortal Codex. But it's nothing insane, it's just kind of a basic attack. His ultimate though, Unerring Hurl. 600 rage cap can be reduced to 800. starts with 500 rage and it lasts for 14 seconds. So 800 rage cap, 14-second duration. He throws Gungnir to one enemy in extended range and he deals 560% damage. But this is direct damage, so this will increase from 560% to 750% damage. So this becomes a 750% damage nuke, which is pretty good. Hits up to 8 enemies around the target when it impacts. So it hits one target and then splashes 8 enemies for 750% damage. Gungnir will stay at the target location for up to 12 seconds before returning, during which the hero stops attacking. So this replaces his autos. And Gungnir emits a pulse every 2 seconds, dealing 300% damage to up to 8 enemies around it and inflicting magic resistance reduction of 20% for 2.5 seconds. Every pulse is 2 seconds, so it's permanent uptime for 12 seconds, basically, of 20% magic resist reduction. This is one of the very few magic resist reduction sources in the game. Ajax is the best at the moment, 30%, I believe, but that's an incredibly rare hero and only to 2 tiles within his range. A1 Vierna player applies 10%, and then we have Greed, who also applies it as well. So this is one of the rare sources of magic resistance reduction. This is better than vulnerability. This is reducing their resistance, not increasing the damage they take. Obviously, that's the net result. When the number of enemies blocked reaches maximum, Gungnir will return immediately. I think this means when he blocks 2 enemies, he gets his spear back, because otherwise he's just getting beaten up, right? It makes no sense to him to stand there while he's getting beaten up. Also, this pulse damage of 300% goes up to 500%. So without skill ups, it's a bit of a shame to miss out on his basic attack talent, 240% chance AoE damage. The burst damage of Gungnir is really nice, but after that, magic resist reduction is really good, and the pulses are good, but it's every 2 seconds. With attack speed, you're going to be wanting to be quite a bit lower than that. So without skill ups, you probably don't really want to have him sitting for 12 seconds, but I mean, it's longer range. It says an extended range, so I guess it's still very good. But anyway, with skill ups, it becomes 500% damage every 2 seconds. It lasts for 12 seconds, so that is 6 instances of 500% AoE damage, which becomes 3,000% damage. So 750% nuke and then 3,000% damage over 12 seconds. It seems kind of insane to me. It seems really crazy. And then he's also reducing their resistance anyway. He doesn't do true damage, but he does reduce their resistance. So yeah, Gungnir's AoE damage, the impact damage, he seems very powerful so far. I really like this Unerring Earl. I think it's a really powerful attack. So, his passives. The first passive, Ruthless Splendor. When receiving direct damage from enemies blocked by the hero, so he has to specifically be blocking them when they hit him, there is a 10 up to 25% chance to inflict a stack of Radiant Erosion. So this is where he applies Radiant Erosion on the damage dealer. However, if the enemy is inflicted with Radiant Erosion, when he damages them, it will remove a stack and he will deal an extra 80 to 120% damage one time. I actually don't like this passive. You don't really want him to be blocking. He's a fighter, so most content where he would be blocking, he's kind of going to be in trouble. And you don't want to remove the stacks of Radiant Erosion because these are really synergistic with his faction allies. And you really don't want to remove them for 120% damage. That's just a basic attack, right? He just gets a free basic attack at the cost of removing this stack. So, I don't know, to me it seems a bit weird. But let's see, the final one, Gungnir's Might. In 10 seconds after Gungnir returns, the hero increases attack by 27%, and this increases up to 35%. He also inflicts a half a second stun with his basic attacks and his Luminous Strike. This is a lot stronger than it sounds. His basic attack and Luminous Strike hit 5 enemies. So he's now, every time he attacks after his ult comes back, he's half a second stunning 5 enemies with every attack. That's really good. And this goes up to 15-second duration. On top of that, he's gaining more than Power of Dominance. He's gaining 35% attack for 15 seconds whenever his ult comes back. So that leads to some pretty interesting synergy. You can throw his ult out, do a bunch of damage, debuff the enemies with magic resist reduction. His ult will come back eventually, either it times out or the enemies make it to him and he blocks them. His spear comes back and now he's stunning them in place and he's giving himself an attack bonus as well. He's also blocking them, so he might be applying Radiant Erosion if they hit him. If they're already inflicted, he's dealing more damage instances. It's pretty good synergy amongst his kit. I still am not super fond of Ruthless Splendor. Overall, though, I think the Unerring Hurl is really good. I think the damage is great. I think his talent has some really nice damage. I think Gungnir's Might, the second passive, is very good for the damage amp, for the AoE stuns. I think that's really good. And finally, he has arena damage increase, 15% damage in arena. So not attack, which is a shame, but 15% damage in arena is really good. I can see him being very, very good in arena, actually. He's going to be doing a whole bunch of burst damage with his Unerring Hurl, which is a manually activated ultimate. He's going to be dealing some really nice AoE damage instances. He's going to be able to boost himself, and he's going to be able to AoE stun. So I think he's going to be fantastic in Arena potentially. Okay, so moving on to his Awakening. First Awakening, there is a 25% chance of not consuming Radiant Erosion when Ruthless Splendor triggers. This is the passive that I had issue with. Having a 25% chance to not consume the stack is pretty good, but I don't know, it doesn't feel like there's that many really super reliable ways to apply Radiant Erosion stacks with such frequency that you would be okay with just popping them randomly to do a single hit. I don't know, it seems a bit iffy to me still. Second Awakening, 15% crit damage, pretty good. Third Awakening, when Gungnir stays at the target location, it pulls nearby enemies toward it once every 2 seconds. So now his spear has a gravitational pull similar to the Poseidon-like hero we looked at earlier. And yeah, it's CC now. It's a long duration, it's 12 seconds, and it's just going to be every 2 seconds just yanking enemies toward it. So it seems pretty good to me. I think it's a nice Awakening. It's not insane because it's not damage, but it seems pretty good. Fourth Awakening is 8% penetration. That's really nice. And finally, his Fifth Awakening. During the effect of Gungnir's Might is the passive when he retrieves his ultima, his Spear Gungnir, all basic attacks turn into Luminous Strikes. This is pretty crazy. So every single basic attack is no longer just going to be dealing, 50% twice to 5 enemies. It's now going to be dealing 240% damage. So all of his attacks for 15 seconds are going to be dealing 240% damage. He's going to have damage amp, he's going to be inflicting stun, he's just going to absolutely obliterate. For 15 seconds after his ult, he's just going to be dishing out massive damage in AoE. So that makes him really good. The only problem with his AoE is it's only 2 tiles in front of him, so you can't really... His magic damage, you would assume you would use him in Gear Raid 1, but it's 2 tiles, so it's a bit awkward. So where would you use Thallen? I think the obvious answer is, again, Immortal Codex. One of the Immortal Codex stages has no platform tiles to place on, and you have to fight an immense amount of enemies. There's loads coming at you. You need to kill them quickly. He does massive damage in AoE. He can apply massive burst damage. He can do a whole bunch of really good stuff. He can do AoE stuns repeatedly. With his Awakenings and all that stuff, he's going to be an absolute beast in the Immortal Codex, I think. But generally, I think he's a good hero. I think he's been very, very powerful. Anyway, that is it for this video. I don't want to go on too long, but those are the new heroes. I did have another video I put out yesterday talking about the other 2 heroes, Praetus and Pelagios, so check that out if you haven't seen it already. Those guys are really quite powerful as well. As I said in that video, this is a very strong faction. There are more heroes to come. There is another one I have seen on the test server, which I won't go over until he's officially released, but does look very good as well. Anyway, that is it for the video, guys. Let me know what you think of these heroes. Let me know if you can think of any synergy or uses for them that I might have overlooked. So I'm generally quite interested to try and figure out where they're going to be really good, because I'm never going to get one. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Have a great day. Take care, and bye-bye.